In California, for misdemeanor matters and felony matters, a criminal defendant has a right to a jury trial. That right is espoused in the United States Constitution under the 7th Amendment. In order for a person to be convicted of a crime, all 12 jurors must unanimously agree on a decision of guilt. If the jury, after hearing the evidence, has 11 people in favor of guilty, but 1 in favor of not guilty, and that person does not change their mind, that's called a hung jury, and as such, the person will not be convicted. Oftentimes, you can get a hung jury, 6 guilty, 6 not guilty, and many times those cases will not be refiled. The greatest part about being a lawyer here in California, and for me personally, and for all the attorneys that work at our offices, is the ability to stand up on behalf of a client who is a criminal defendant in a matter, and the DA gets up and says it is the people versus John Doe. And you feel that great weight of the government coming down on you, and you as that person's advocate stand up and say to the jury, he didn't do this. The district attorney is wrong, and the government is wrong. You then have the ability to cross-examine the district attorney's witnesses in front of this jury, talk to this jury in both your opening statements and your closing arguments. It is probably the greatest satisfaction I have personally as a lawyer, or I think quite candidly any lawyer can have, to successfully argue and defend a client and hear that jury come back with those 2 great words, not guilty. What I practice and what the lawyers that work with me practice is the art of psychodynamics. And what we try to do is this. We understand that human beings have 5 senses. Oftentimes, the average lawyer knows that jury can listen to them, will hear them, can see what they're doing. They can listen to, hear, and see witnesses. But what we try to establish with the jury is not only to listen to what we're saying, to look and see what's going on, but also try to play their sense of smell by describing to them in vivid detail things that occurred. For example, I remember a case that we were defending where our client was burned. It was a self-defense case. And we didn't just talk about our client being down on the ground and feeling injured. We told the jury in our opening that they would hear testimony that our client, after being struck, was down on the ground. He was in pain. And the first time he realized that there was a greater problem was when he could feel some pain in his arm, but he noticed this unique odor. And it was the odor of his skin had burned, that his hair had burned, an odor that we all have smelled at some point in our lives. And we go on to explain to the jury that in the art of psychodynamics, that our client didn't realize they were bleeding until for the first time they felt a warm dripping feeling around their face, and they knew it was blood when they felt it in their mouth, and they could taste their own blood, and they could see the taste of hot, salty blood, a taste that we all taste. And so what you want to do as a criminal defense lawyer is paint this vivid picture for a jury so they understand exactly what your client's going through. They understand completely so they can relate to your client and they can have empathy for your client. And that really is the great part about being a criminal trial lawyer, because ultimately you're saying to your client, you're saying to society, I am here to advocate on behalf of a person, and I'm going to apply the skills and craft that I've learned throughout my life, and I'm going to convince you, even though it's not my burden, that my client has not violated any law. I'm Mike Scafidi, a retired police officer and now a criminal defense attorney with Schaus Law Group. If you or a loved one are in trouble and need help, call me.